standing for Jesus, standing in the gap for family and friends, standing in the gap, one love for all, so we all can make it in. Standing in the gap, standing for Jesus, standing in the gap for family and friends, standing in the gap, one love for all, so we all can make it in. Studying to show ourselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth, increasing our faith to envision our freedom, so we all can glorify our God.
So, as when Christ left, he asked us to spread the good news to all through the world, the Great Commission. And in order to do that, you have to know what's going on in the world. And God loved us so much, He gave His only begotten Son so that we can survive and be saved and all that. So we need to know what's going on in the world, and we have this section of the broadcast that we call the Gap News. And the Gap News is the current events that you need to be aware of. Marvel's in charge of that. She always comes up with some very, very good Gap News because she has a whole lot to work with in this world. And so I'm going to turn this over to Marvel. Marvel, what you got for us?
Well, we've been on a roller coaster ride since January 20th, 2025, haven't we? Woo-wee! So, we're about a month and a couple of days into this new administration. And so people have had a chance to kind of see, scope out what's happening and start forming their opinions about what they think about what's happening and what they think about the people that are perpetrating these different things that are happening. So I'm calling this one, they can't stand it.
The data is in. It's been a month officially as of today for this new presidential term. And what the data says, sort of broadly, bottom line, is that the country kind of hates this guy. Yeah, I shouldn't say hate. It's not the right word. It's not a nice word. Maybe it's can't stand him. Or maybe I shouldn't characterize it at all. I'll show you the numbers. I will say we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't necessarily believe that it was coming this far, this fast, but, right out of the gate, Gallup did polling just after the inauguration. They did their first poll on public opinion of Trump in this second term, starting immediately after the inauguration. Literally, they had their first poll in the field the first full day Trump was in office, the day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of the honeymoon period, right? That's when you are at your high watermark in terms of what people are expecting from you and hoping for from you. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, sort of shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office, more Americans disapproved of him than approved of him. I mean, only by 1 point, but still, that's unheard of. That's a more than unusual thing in presidential polling. Gallup, in fact, said at the time that in the 70 plus years they have been doing presidential polling, Donald Trump is the only president for whom his approval ratings were underwater right at the start of his term in office, meaning more people disliked him than liked him. So in that first week Gallup poll, Trump was underwater, 47 approving, 48% disapproving. So that means he was coming in at -1. And like I said, that was something we haven't seen with any other president. And to me, actually, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would stand. I thought that would be sort of an outlier. But now look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll, now 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not -1 anymore. Now he's -6. Which makes him at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in 70 plus years of Gallup polling, Gallup says it actually puts him 15 points below the average polling for presidents. Again, over the last 72 years in which they have been doing this polling. At this point in a presidential term, 1 month in, the average is 15 points higher than where Trump is right now. Nobody has ever started off a presidential term this poorly in the eyes of the American people. I mean, all presidents are above water at this point in their presidencies, right out of the gate. Trump's the only one. Trump was underwater with the American public from day one, and since then he's been sinking like a cinder block in an ocean trench. I did not know to expect that. To be fair, part of the reason I'd expected that Gallup number might go up and not down is because Gallup's not the only game in town. There were other national, well-regarded quality polls that came out right at the start of Trump's term that did show him in positive territory. Not big positive territory, but still positive. Like, for example, the Quinnipiac poll, which came out in late January, right after Trump was sworn in. It showed Trump doing okay. I mean, not great, but in that poll, he was above water. He was +3. But now, though, again, 1 month in, that same poll, Quinnipiac, it's flipped. He has gone from +3 in his first week in office to -4 now. That is a quick turnaround for a poll that initially looked okay for him less than a month ago. It looked okay for him. Now it looks terrible for him. Why is that? Well, it's because Trump's been doing stuff. And what the data shows is that almost every single thing he has done is soundly and clearly, and in some cases, wildly unpopular with the American people. Again, just look at that Quinnipiac poll that shows Trump underwater right now. More Americans disapproving of him than approving of him, right? He was +3 right after he got sworn in. Now he's -4. You can see in the internals of that poll a little bit about what's driving that. Do you approve of Trump's handling of foreign policy? No. Do you approve of Trump's handling of trade? No. Do you approve of Trump's handling of the federal workforce? No. Do you approve of Trump's handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict? No. Do you approve of Trump's handling of the Israel-Hamas conflict? No. Do you approve of Trump's handling of the economy? No. No, the American public does not approve of his handling of the economy. And stick a pin in that one because that one's interesting for a number of reasons, and we will come back to that. But you take a look at the broad areas of responsibility a U.S. president has. And on all these broad points, the American public just says, no, Donald Trump, we do not like the way you are handling any of these issues. And then when you drill down, not just you drill down from the broad categories of things to instead the stuff he wants you to focus on, the very specific things he's done, his signature specific issues and his signature gambits thus far since he's been in office, the stuff that he thinks makes him look great. Well, those things are even worse than the broad categories. On those things, the stuff he's doing is catastrophically unpopular. I mean, look at this. This is from the same poll. Do you like Donald Trump's genius idea for Gaza? By a 40-point margin, the American people are against Trump on that. How about DEI, which they've tried to turn into a slur? Do you think policies focused on increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace are a good thing? The American people say, yes, actually. Yes, actually, we do think that's a good thing. By a 15-point margin, Americans are for that. How about tariffs? Donald Trump's favorite thing, right? Do you think Donald Trump's tariffs will help the U.S. economy or hurt it? By an 11-point margin, the American people say his tariffs will hurt the American economy, not help. How about Vladimir Putin? All right, this is one of the most important things that Trump has done since being back in office. Trump's sitting there in the Oval Office telling reporters, yes, I trust Vladimir Putin, as he throws out 70 plus years of our post-World War II alliances and decides that now we're going to be allied against Europe and with Russia, all because he trusts Putin so much. Well, Quinnipiac polled on that specifically. Quote, do you think the United States should trust Russian President Vladimir Putin or not? 81% of the American public says not.
Wow.
But Trump does. The same national polling shows the American public do not approve of Elon Musk. Individually, Elon Musk's approval is -12. But everybody else in his government is underwater. The American public has apparently seen enough already to be against, to be disapproving more than approving of not just Elon Musk by a mile, but Trump as well. And also J.D. Vance is underwater, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the brainworm podcast guy who's now U.S. Health Secretary, and Tulsi Gabbard, who really is the Director of National Intelligence, believe it or not, and Kash Patel, who was confirmed today as FBI Director. All of them are underwater in the new polling. The American public does not like any of them. Not a single one of them is above water. Nobody who they polled on is above water in the Trump administration. And it's not just Quinnipiac. Look at the polling on Elon Musk in the new CNN poll that's out today. By a 2-to-1 margin, Elon Musk, having this prominent role in the administration, is seen by the American people as a bad thing. 2-to-1 against his prominent role in the administration. In the new Washington Post poll, which we're going to talk about in a second, they've got an Elon Musk question as well. Are you concerned about Elon Musk in his government role gaining access to your personal data and information? The American people say, yes, we are concerned about that, by a 29-point margin. And Elon Musk being somehow empowered to shut down federal government programs, is that a good thing or a bad thing? By a 2-to-1 margin, the American people think that is a bad thing. In today's CNN poll, overall, Donald Trump is underwater by 5 points. In the new poll from Pew Research, Donald Trump is underwater by 4 points. In the new poll from Reuters, Donald Trump is underwater by 7 points. In the new poll from the Washington Post and Ipsos that's out today, they've got Trump underwater by 8 points. All of this absolutely historically unprecedented. No president has ever come out of the gate with numbers like this ever before. And it is across the board. But, you know, on that Washington Post one, look at this. Look deeper into that. They've got him -8. Look, the proportion of Americans who are strongly for him is 27%. The proportion of Americans who are strongly against him is 37%. So yes, your perception, your anecdotal perception is correct. He does have a small, fervent base of support, but the base of fervent opposition to him is much larger. Like 10 points larger. The same poll also asked, do you want the next Congress, the Congress that's going to be elected next year in the midterms, do you want that Congress to be controlled by the Democrats to act as a check on Trump, or do you want it to be controlled by the Republicans to support Trump's agenda? By a 13-point margin, the country says, Democrats, please, we would prefer the Democrats to be in charge in the next Congress. In the Washington Post polling, do you support Trump banning transgender people from the military? No, by 11 points. Do you support Trump laying off large numbers of federal workers? No, by 19 points. Do you support Trump shutting down USAID? No, by 21 points. Do you support Trump pardoning people convicted of violent crimes related to the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021? Do you support Trump's pardon of people convicted of violent crimes on J6? What do you think the number is going to be on that one? The answer obviously is no. The American people do not support that. But the proportion of Americans who say that is 83%. That was his first major act upon taking office as president. 83% of the public disagrees with it. That's a bad plan in politics.
It is one of the most basic principles of physics. One of Newton's laws: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And now, 1 month and 1 day into Donald Trump's second presidency, 1 month and 1 day since Donald Trump unleashed Elon Musk and his band of 20-something coders to gut the Justice Department and the FBI and the FAA and USAID and the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS and the VA and the Pentagon. 1 month and 1 day of Donald Trump terrifying and destabilizing our allies by cozying up to Vladimir Putin and insulting President Zelensky and claiming that he and Ukraine started the war. 1 month and 1 day of Donald Trump's administration deporting thousands of migrants, many of whom have no criminal record at all. 1 month and 1 day with no relief, none. Things going in the wrong direction on the question of inflation and the price of eggs. 1 month and 1 day of all that, we now have a better sense of what will oppose Donald Trump and his anti-democratic overreach, what Newton's law for every action and equal and opposite reaction might look like in our country and sounds like. Things like this. But the most comprehensive and eloquent rebuke of Donald Trump's first month came from Illinois' Governor JB Pritzker.
We don't have kings in America, and I don't intend to bend the knee to one. If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control. Tyranny requires your fear and your silence and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. So gather your justice and humanity, Illinois, and do not let the tragic spirit of despair overcome us when our country needs us the most. Thank you.
America doesn't like this, y'all. We don't like any of it. We don't like any of it. 83% of Americans said they disagree with pardoning violent insurrectionist criminals. Everybody's underwater. The majority of Americans don't like anything that's going on. You know, they thought they wanted to have, mass deportation, but the way that it's being perpetrated, I'm going to just say it that way, that's not what people wanted. And then this whole thing with Ukraine and Vladimir Putin and President Zelensky, how in the world did President Zelensky become the dictator and the one who started the war in Ukraine and not the dictator Putin, who invaded Ukraine? The lies are just piling up. The the people who are not qualified, the unqualified people that are in the cabinet. What is going to happen to our health and human services, y'all? What is going to happen to our national security? What is going to happen to our Department of Defense? They just fired the Joint Chiefs of Staff last night. So, okay, I'm going to stop with my rant because I think they laid it out very well. People don't like what's going on. And in all 50 states, there have been all kinds of protests. The congressmen and women went back to their districts this week, and they got an earful from everybody. Blue and red districts. So, okay, I'm done, honey. What do you think?
Well, I mean, with those type poll numbers and all that, it shows something. But what it doesn't do is resonate up to those Republicans in the House and to the Senate, because they keep approving all these non-qualified cabinet members and allowing Elon Musk to run rampant and all that. But it's early. Like somebody said, hey, we're only in the first inning of this, and things are going to happen. And what is happening, what that shows is the groundswell of people power. People power.
Oh,
because if the Republicans aren't going to do anything, the Democrats aren't powerful enough to do anything. There's one other, and the courts are going to take such a long time. There's one other avenue, and that's people power. And people power has been shown throughout the years to work when you get enough of a groundswell, and he is increasing the people who will go against him because I was wondering, I was saying, now he's firing all these people. And I mean, not one or two. He's firing a whole bunch of them.
Thousands.
I wonder who they're gonna vote for the next time. And their
And their
families
families.
and their friends.
Exactly. And the people that are losing the services that have now been cut off because they've been fired.
He wants to mess with Medicare and Medicaid. He ain't gonna take my advice. I say don't do that. Because those people depend on that.
Oh, and then take over the post office.
Yeah,
take over the post office so people can't vote by mail.
That's right.
So what I see coming is a groundswell. Like I said, this past week, the people in the Congress went back to their districts, and a lot of them had in-person town halls. A lot of them had virtual town halls. I heard of one, I don't remember which congressman it was, but they had a virtual town hall with over 10,000 people that joined the town hall. And they were all saying, you got to put a stop to this. You got to stand up. I saw on TV last night, there was a town hall down in Georgia, and the people were letting him have it. He said, y'all going to let me talk? And they were like, you're not standing up for us. And then right at the end of it, before it cut away, this woman hollered out, don't bend over. So people are not okay with what's happening. And that's what we have to do. Remember when last summer when I said Project 2025, their plan is to come out with guns blazing. They're going to try to do a blitzkrieg and do it real fast before people can realize what's happening to them. Just like JB Pritzker said, the Nazis took less than 2 months to destroy their democracy. Well, we're in 1 month and a couple of days, y'all. We better get on top of it.
All right, now you know where to spread the gospel.
All right,
and realize who's in control.
Yeah, nobody had any comments about that. But, you can always put your comments into the chat box later on. That's the Facebook live post is live. So even after the live broadcast right now, you can add your comments and we'll be able to respond to them whenever you put them in. Okay, honey.